Hello everyone, I'm Nate and welcome to the channel. In my last yo-yo review, I reviewed the Recess Hypernova and I mentioned that Tyler sent me over 3 different things for review. So this is the second one, and I believe the consensus was to review the Joyride. This Joyride though, right, this is not a new yo-yo per se from their catalog, but there is one key difference, and that's a D bearing. So the original had a C bearing, this one has a D bearing. So let's go ahead and get into the Joyride by Recess YoYos D bearing edition. Did review ages ago, so if you really want to kind of see and go back and look for it, I have a review of the Joyride. Originally I had it in a blackout version, and I'm pretty sure I gifted that one, but I don't have it anymore, so I can't do really a comparison. But as far as what we see here design wise, it's pretty much the same as the original C bearing. The big difference, and this is going to certainly affect the playability, is the D bearing. But for those that are uninitiated at all with the Joyride, let's go ahead and talk about it. First off, it is a classic organic shape. I mean, personally, I really like organics. If you've watched this channel long enough, or if you know me personally, you know that I cling to an organic yo-yo. My signature yo-yo is an organic yo-yo. I really like the feel in the hand, but I also kind of like just the general play as well. It doesn't feel like, most organics don't really push the kind of performance aspect to be like, that's the key thing, right? The shape is not really conducive for a ton of, like, I don't know, advanced kind of performance competition kind of tricks usually. This one, however, it does flare out a little bit more. It's not as high-walled as a lot of organics. So it is a little bit of a blend of both, right? I would say it's gonna feel really nice in the hand, but at the same time, it's going to get the job done as far as tricks, right? This one here is in this orange. I really like it. I felt like I kind of matchy a little bit. It's a little bit autumnal. Autumnal, I think that's the right word. It's a word I would never use, but it's autumn-like. All right, it has the jack-o'-lantern on there with the recess cut in there and the jack-o'-lantern's face. Really fun design here. Good one to have around for the Halloween season, but maybe Halloween for many is an all-year-round event. All right, anyways, but yeah, I really do like the design on this. It's really, again, a very clean, organic shape. Has a nice little step in the middle as well, so, it's not going to have a ton of drag there. It isn't necessarily high-walled, but I do think it's going to be, and I do know that it's going to be really solid for regens. Usually, higher-walled yo-yos are better for regens as far as control, but I think it's going to do the job. It does have a little bit of an IRG, so if you're into that kind of stuff, it has a little bit of an old school feel. I feel like a lot of recess stuff generally has an old school kind of design, and Tyler's been around forever, so I feel like maybe just a lot of that nostalgic kind of design of late 90s, early 2000s kind of pull into a lot of his yo-yos, and I could certainly see where this has a little bit of that inspiration. It will have a little bit of float to it, right? If I can use that term, and I use that term loosely because I feel like it might be a little subjective to the thrower, but it is going to be a little bit larger. It's not oversized, but it's a full-size organic yo-yo. The main thing, as we talked about, the difference here from this one to the original C-size bearing is that it is D bearing, right? And again, for the uninitiated, a D bearing is going to be just as wide as a C bearing, so it's going to give you just as much gap, right? But the big difference is that it's going to be a smaller diameter. So you have a little bit more string in the gap, just a little bit, and I feel like that's going to be better for your binds, really nice snappy binds, but also just give a little bit more RPMs, a little bit more pick up and go. And I really enjoy D bearings, by the way, but usually what we feel on the string is that you get a little bit more power from the initial throw. All right, let's go ahead and actually play it, and let's talk about how it plays on the string. All right, welcome back here, and let's go ahead and throw a couple of kind of classic tricks to kind of just test out how it plays. A couple of bearing wraps here. Yeah, really nice. Again, I mentioned that the D-bearing is going to allow a little bit more string into the gap there. And so I feel like there's just a little more forgiveness as far as multiple wraps in the gap. And it's not going to snag up as much on you as you know, as it might with the C-bearing. Since we're talking about the D-bearing here, let's talk about what I mentioned already here on the string section. I feel like usually with an average D-bearing yo-yo, there is a lot of just pickup. I feel like a lot of power comes from not even a hard throw. Like I can just kind of almost just drop it out of my hand and it's gonna spin long enough and have enough RPMs to kind of just whoosh, right? Why aren't there more D-bearing yo-yos? I don't know if it's a design thing that's just difficult or the availability of D-bearings compared to C-bearing. I didn't mention the grind surface on there, but it is a nice finish on there as well. It's going to get some decent grinds if you're into that. Mentioned that it has an IRG, so you can pop that up pretty easily. Regens are going to have a lot of control and again a lot of power coming out of that regen. I don't know what else I can say about it. It's really good. I think if I had the option between the C-bearing or the D-bearing version of the Joyride, I would be clinging to the D-bearing version. I think it's a really cool, fun, simple improvement, or maybe not improvement, or option maybe for others, but I think personally it's an improvement. But if you are looking for maybe a really good organic, something that's really comfortable in the hand, but has a heck of a lot of power and just a lot of fun as well, and there's a bunch of different colorways, definitely check out the Recess Joyride with the D-bearing version in it. All right, that's going to do it for my review of the Recess Joyride D-bearing. If you like this kind of content, make sure you like, subscribe, and all that, but the best way you can support this channel is through my new Patreon. And I'm trying this out, and we'll see how it goes. It may not be something I sustain, but if there is some solid response to it, then we're going to continue it. But anyways, I'll have a link in the description where you can find all information about myself and everything. Of course, information about this yo-yo right here and the specs and everything else you need to know. But that's it for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.